We have some very special guests on our show today, Jim Clowers Sr. and Jim Clowers Jr. of the IQ Zoo fame. Those of you who have been in Hot Springs from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, remember the IQ Zoo, which was a trained animal place for tourists. And also we're going to talk about a place that they had dolphins and everything right here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, that spurned trained animal acts across the country. So welcome, Clowers. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Great. And Jim Sr. started working with the Brelands, is that correct?
Yes.
And tell us about who the Brelands were and how they got to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we'll move forward into talking to you and then talking about your son getting involved.
Yeah, the Brelands lived in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And they started working with B.F. Skinner.
Okay.
They were working with a project that was a classified government project. Mm-hmm. This was training pigeons to fly guided missiles. And they decided that they needed a bigger place. They wanted to move here because Mrs. Breland's mom lived here, Harriet. Mm-hmm. So they moved here and they bought a big farm, plenty of acreage, where they could build all the training spots on there that they needed to be able to train all these different animals. And so they had different contracts that they were working with. And the Brelands started out working, and they didn't get working good. Then Keller passed away. The business was really a growing business at that time. And they decided, well, we'll just keep this thing going. And they had all the government projects that they were working with. And they had Bob Garner, which was one of the best animal trainers in the world. Fred Burra, another one. John Suit, Richard Humphreys, and these guys were all the main trainers that Keller and Marion had taught them how to train.
And they came here to Hot Springs, all of them?
Yes.
And all because Keller Breland's wife, who was a fantastic trainer, what was her first name?
Marion.
Marion, she was well known. Her mother lived here?
Yes.
Okay. So what year did they all come to Hot Springs?
This is like, I guess 1964, 63, somewhere in there.
Oh, okay.
And they started doing these government classified projects. And one of them was dolphins. Mm-hmm. They flew dolphins in, airplanes out here, and then they brought them out to Ridgeway Boulevard, the street that I lived on. Of course, I was a kid at that time. And they started working with these dolphins, training the dolphins for the Navy. And as they did, they started opening up and getting other contracts to train different animal shows. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they were still training these other contracts for the government. This was all classified stuff that nobody knew was happening. And if anybody come up and ask us, why are you training this bird or this cat to do this, we were to tell them it was for a movie. And that's how we got away with doing a lot of the things that we did.
And did you do that through the 90s at all? Did you train for when did the government contracts end?
Those ended probably in the late 80s.
In the late 80s.
All that stuff stopped and they quit doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they still were training places for like Marine Land, mm-hmm. SeaWorld, Seven Seas in Texas, all kinds of different shows they were still working with. And the trainers from our company left and went to these big parks and became head trainers there.
Wow, all from Hot Springs, Arkansas,
mm-hmm.
all from Hot Springs. And so they had dolphin training off of Ridgeway,
yes.
But they also had dolphin training off of 270. When did that switch take place where they went from Ridgeway dolphins to the 270 area?
Now this is later on, mm-hmm. when they built Animal Wonderland.
I see.
And when they did that, they brought the dolphins in there and worked with them there.
So you were training dolphins. Were these saltwater dolphins?
Yes.
Because I've heard that there's freshwater variety.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And you were training on Ridgeway. So how big of a pond did you have to build for these dolphins? And how much salt needed to be put in?
In Ridgeway, they kept it going. There's a couple guys that worked there that kept all that stuff going. That was right before I got there.
I see.
But Keller Breland and Richard Humphreys and different one, Bob Bailey, he was in on it.
Did they build a pool or did they dig a pond?
It was a big swimming pool put in the middle of a big building.
Oh, okay.
And they just brought the dolphins in there and put them in there, and that's where they trained them at.
Wow. Right on Ridgeway, they had this secret building. Nobody knew what was going on inside, really.
No.
And dolphins, that must have been a huge building. What is it that site now on Ridgeway where the building used to be?
The building is still there.
Oh.
This was number 7. And the top of this is where we did a lot of special show training. The bottom of it was where they kept a lot of the animals. They'd have to load the animals in little carts and stuff and bring them over to this building. This building is where they did all the coin-operated training, like the dancing chickens and the piano playing rabbits and tic-tac-toe chickens and all that stuff. We're all done there. But the special shows and things were done on top of this building. And we did many hours right up here.
And where did they train the cats to do?
The cats were back up here on the back side right here. Right here's where the seagulls were brought to, and we trained them right here and started them out here, and then we leave here and carry them out to the lakes and stuff. But this is where all the seagull area was.
And how many buildings total were on this property?
There were probably about 7. And there was a big fly pen that we had where we could train the birds and stuff to fly and not get out of that fly pen. They had to stay inside there because they could get away easy without having that wire all around them. They transformed it from the dolphins and put it into another building where they were training all these coin-operated machines.
Okay.
Where you drop a quarter in at a chicken place, tic-tac-toe, and want to play a piano, and all these different things were going on in that building.
Wow. Including the pond for the dolphins were in that building too.
They were, but they moved them out.
They moved
once
out.
that project ended. I worked at a 5, 10, 25 cent store downtown. And I was doing pretty good there. They wanted to make me a manager. And they wanted to send me to Texas. So I quit. And I went to my mom's and I told her, I said, Mom, I quit my job today. She said, well, Jim, there's a job in the paper right down the street down here at this training place. They want somebody to train chickens.
Wow.
So I went down and I talked to them.
And about how old were you?
I was in my early 20s.
Okay, and how many months did it take before you were running the act? Once
It took me a number of years because I worked on all these different projects for the government. And finally, while I was working on one of the projects to help build Animal Wonderland out there on 270, they wanted everybody to learn how to give the shows, like at the IQ Zoo. Because the company was growing and they were selling these shows to different places around the country, and they wanted everybody to learn how to give those shows. So I was one of the ones sent to learn how to give the shows.
And do you think when you were doing the government projects that the tourist IQ Zoo and the Wonderland was would that be a bit of a cover for the undercover operations?
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. So do you think that they started, IQ Zoo was originally started in Wonderland as a way to take the heat off people wondering what was going on? Or did they?
I think part of it was. But the only thing wrong was Animal Wonderland, when it was opened up, there wasn't enough business to really keep it going. And the city, all the gambling, everything all slowed down, and the economy just wasn't really right.
Right.
And they pretty much had let it go downhill.
So Animal Wonderland was out there before SeaWorld even started.
Yes.
I mean, so did people from SeaWorld come and learn the operant conditioning with it?
Well,
Marineland did, yeah.
Kent Burgess came up from Florida, and they started working on some of the dolphins here, and they started getting them to train the dolphins for their shows.
Oh, okay.
So they just branched out to different places like Busch Gardens, Parrot Jungle.
Wow.
In fact, the people that left the company, that's where they went to.
So you then started working the IQ Zoo on Whittington, was that correct? And you remember about what year that was?
Oh, it was in the late 70s.
Oh, okay.
What we're trying to do today is teach him how to add and subtract. So now you get to tell him a problem.
5 minus 2.
Can you tell us, what is that answer?
1, 2, 3.
3 is perfect. All right, boy, the rack is pretty good, isn't he? That's the secret. No, he's trained to watch your eyes.
And the research I did said that the Brelands were more into the technical scientific area of it, and then when you came in, you decided by accident that humor entertained the crowds more, and so people loved your show because you were the first one to start adding humor to the show. Is that correct?
I had to go up there and learn the show. As I watched the show that day, it was really just boring to me, and I thought, man, there's got to be something else to do here. So I started making the animals mess up, and the people would laugh, and everybody started getting into it.
Get on your bike, boy. Show them how you can ride. Get right on that bike. Go, go. All right, boy, he's doing good, isn't he? Try it again. He's got to learn to go really fast. He's pretty good, isn't he? Riding that bike. I've had people come up and look and go, oh my God, this is sick. This is sick. I've never seen nothing like this in my life. And those people they got problems. They need to go get help themselves because these things, they're just normal animals. That's all they are. And I think they can't explain it, and it scares them. They can't explain how the animal's doing this. But it's just psychology. That's all it is.
And after the show, the other people that trained me told me, you're probably going to lose your job because this is how the Brelands want this to be. Well, I went ahead and did it my way. I just enjoyed doing it that way. And of course, the audiences got better and bigger. And I also had worked at Sterling's downtown and learned merchandising. And I redid the gift shop and fixed it all up, and it started making money. So now the zoo is making money, everybody's having fun. And one day, Miss Breland came in and brought some clients with her from Six Flags, and I didn't know they were there. I was in the middle of one of my shows, and it was a great show because people were just going wild. And after the show, I walked out the back and come around to the front there, and the other people told me, boy, you're probably going to be in trouble because Miss Breland just left. And I don't think she's too happy. And a couple of days later, we got notice, everybody come to animal behavior. We're going to have a special meeting. So I went to the meeting. And when I got there, everybody was talking like they normally talk. There was about 40 of us. And they got through talking. It was the time we were going to get a raise. Everybody knew this is why they called us together. We're going to get a raise today. Well, Bailey got up and announced that the company hadn't done what they thought it was going to do this year. And so the raises were going to have to be waited for maybe next year. But they said, but we'd like to make an announcement. Jim Clowers, would you come to the front? I didn't know what to do. So I walked up to the front, and Miss Breland was there. And she held up that award of merit and handed me this. Said, we're going to give this to you for being the most outstanding person here in our company for the year. And this is the first one we've ever given out. We want you to have it. And they gave me that award of merit, and Bailey said, can you make a speech? What do you think? And I thought to myself, well, this is not going to put food on my table. Well, I looked at him and I said, well, this is nice, but I can't eat this. And they looked very sour. And all the employees in there all cheered me and laughed and clapped, and they were all thrilled to death. So she made another announcement. She said, from now on, every day, the people that go to the IQ Zoo learn to give the shows like Jim Clowers. We have a new way we're going to start this business, doing this. So go up there and learn how to give those shows.
Now what we got to do is we got to teach him when we shoot him that he'll die. Bang! Nope, your head's supposed to go ahead. Hey, hey, give me my hand. He did all right, didn't he?
The chicken, the raccoon, the rabbit.
I mean, there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of people all over the United States come here just to see this show.
There's nowhere else in the world you can go and see this. It doesn't exist anywhere else except right here in Hot Springs at the zoo. Could you wiggle your toes at them and say goodbye? Well, one more. One more wiggle there. One more big wiggle. All right, give me my hand.